ancient order of Mayhem. How gratifying it shall be to kill you by my own hand.
Hello everyone, my name is Phil Kohler and I'm here with Polygon. I'm showing you a little bit today of Agents of Mayhem, the new game that's coming out from Volition. It's the same people who made the Saints Row games. Trying something a little bit different this time, but definitely kind of still inspired, still has that Saints Row vibe to it. We got to actually go check out Agents of Mayhem last week and play about an hour and a half of gameplay. A bunch of different gameplay stuff spread across multiple points of the game. We actually got to play the very first mission. We got to jump ahead to some stuff that's much later in the game, like past the halfway point. We got to check out like 9 different characters. There are 12 total in the game, so that's almost all of them. Honestly, so far, I'm pretty impressed with how it's shaping up. Like Saints Row, Agents of Mayhem is this over-the-top, open-world action game where you get to run around this giant city and cause mayhem. In this case, it's actually taking place in Seoul, South Korea, so it's a real city. Rather than creating your own character, you're now playing as one of this group called Mayhem, which is basically sort of a superhero group, but they're not all good guys. The Agents of Mayhem cast includes this wide variety of weird, interesting characters. So there's Daisy, who's this roller skating derby girl who also just happens to carry a massive Gatling gun. There's Hollywood, who's basically a movie star turned into a real-life action hero. He's kind of like Johnny Cage from Mortal Kombat. You can also play as Kingpin, who's actually Pierce Washington from the Saints Row games. So, you know, if you miss Saints Row, you can play as this character that's straight up come over from the Saints Row games to be in Agents of Mayhem. You actually get to take 3 characters with you at any one time, and you can swap between them on the fly. So a core part of the gameplay in Agents of Mayhem is not just picking one character you love and sticking with them, but swapping between characters throughout a mission based on the situation. So if you're taking on enemies who are far away, you're probably going to want to swap to somebody like Hollywood, who has his long-range rifle and can hit people from further away. If you need to take out some guys at close range, you're going to want to swap to somebody like Hardtack, who actually has a shotgun and can just take out a huge group of people with one blast. What makes these characters especially unique, and what makes Agents of Mayhem especially fun, are the Mayhem abilities, which are basically the unique special abilities you have by filling up this meter as you kill enemies. So as an example, there's Kingpin. That's the character from Saints Row who I mentioned earlier. His Mayhem ability is that he actually drops a boombox and enemies start dancing around him. Or if you're playing as Fortune, who's kind of this sky pirate character, she summons a drone, and then that drone will float around and just shock enemies, so that you can just shoot them as they sort of stand there stunned. In addition to just running around and doing open world stuff, Agents of Mayhem is going to have all of these story missions. Each of the 12 agents is going to have an unlock mission that makes them playable, and then they're going to have personal missions that sort of expand on their backstory. And as you might expect from the studio that brought us Saints Row, writing in the game is very tongue-in-cheek, very focused on comedy rather than trying to be something serious. In what we've played, it's a little bit hit or miss, but I'm really hopeful for the full game that they're able to pull it together, and we're not going to have to wait too much longer to see. Agents of Mayhem is actually coming out on August 15th. It's going to be for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Windows PCs, and we will definitely have a lot more to say about the game soon.
Once again, Mayhem, you show no thought, no consideration. You're only brutes with bullets. Isn't that right? What is it they say? When all you have is a hammer. Every problem looks like a nail. Farewell.